The cloud. Okay, very good. It shows. Brenda, if you can just have the note that the meeting started at 1:01, please. It's called to order. All right, everybody, welcome to Pickleball Alberta's annual general meeting. I trust everybody can see the screen there that has the first page of the PowerPoint presentation on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So we'll just go through the different slides here, and each director will talk on their slides. I'll be talking through mine as well. If you have any questions, I guess, how can we do this? Maybe put it in the chat, and then because we can't see everybody's. If they put your hand up, we can't see everybody. So just put it in the chat, and then Bev, if you can be watching that as well, just to advise me.
Okay.
Somebody here. Okay. All right. So the AGM agenda, confirmation of attendance of appointed zone voting delegates. We've done that. Thank you, Bev. Adoption of the minutes from 2021-2022 AGM meeting. That was sent out on September 23rd. Could I have a motion to adopt those minutes, please?
I so move.
So moved. All right. And that, and just state your name, please, and your club.
Peter Wundke, Airdrie Pickleball Club.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes. Steve Hyam, Barhead.
Thank you very much, Steve. All right, so all in favor of the meeting, of the minutes as distributed on September 23rd via Bev's email, please raise your hand.
Yes.
Opposed? All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. All right, so we'll go through the presence year in review, and then the different director slides, treasurer's report, which has a financial statement, also a preliminary budget. We'll have our board of directors elections for 2022-2024. Bios were distributed to the membership on September 23rd. Also, Lauren Evans wasn't on that, but she has since put her name forward. Then we'll have open floor on the elections, comments, questions, answers, and adjournment. All right. Zone voting delegates. Bev, do you want to just explain this part?
Sure. In our bylaws, it provides that 3 delegates from each provincial sport zone have voting privileges at the meeting. All other members can ask questions and participate in the discussion. And the process that we use is for clubs to nominate or appoint a delegate, and we go with 3, or the 3 largest is what we would typically, what we've done the last few years. The bylaws actually anticipated that at some point there might be actual operating zones like there are for other sports, and aligned, like one for each of the 8 in our province. Is that clear enough?
Yep, very good. Thank you. And those sport zones, they're kind of identified by Alberta Sport or Sport Alberta, whatever it is that
they are. Yeah. It's the Alberta Sport Zones that for summer games and all sorts of other sports follow that zone format too.
Right on. Okay. Thank you very much, Bev. If there's any questions, I see none. These are the delegates as that were identified. And they're all attendance. Adopt the AGM meeting minutes. We've already done that. So the 2021-2022 board of directors, these are different people that have been on the board for this term. It's been a great year. We've done a lot of great things, and I'd like to say thank you to every one of these board members who gave their time and their efforts. It truly did make this year a very, very, very successful. And for the first year, we had a junior pickleball director, Brent. I shouldn't say that. Actually, Brenda that did a lot with juniors, and we also had a technology director, Ray Kerouac from St. Albert's, who's a new position we put together for the board. President's year in review. Again, I'll be going through different slides of this. So I just really have this for reference for the people that look at it in the future. But one thing I don't want to mention too many times is coming through COVID with full force. We came out of COVID late winter, early spring, and it's really pickleball has come full force right across the province, where it's almost an afterthought now with many of the clubs, and everyone's enjoying the health and happiness and social activities of pickleball. One of the big things we've done with Pickleball Alberta is the branding to give awareness. We lead the country in this type of thing. We've got a number of different brands that we have now that we'll be continuing to use. And again, gives Pickleball Alberta a great awareness across the province and across the country. And I can say as well, from looking at our analytics from our Facebook, our YouTube channel, that we actually get people from all over the world, as far as Australia and Korea, for example. Different sponsors that helped us out this year: Steve Deacon Pickleball, Coach Pickleball, Above and Beyond Promotions did the medals for us. Myself, Kirk Jensen, Genset Software, and Sunbreak Video. I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, again, who have made it successful and believe in the brand, and the Association of Pickleball Alberta to support us. So thank you to our sponsors. Communications. This year started out with Danny Wu from Edmonton as the communications director. She took on a new job with the Edmonton Owners Entertainment Group that greatly affected her time. So in about March, I took over the social media. Social media is a very timely thing. It's something that you can't kind of wait a week or something to do when an event's happening, and you have to be right on top of it. And the Facebook was where a lot of our demographic is. And when you post to Facebook, it also posts to our Instagram. TikTok is something that's quickly growing in popularity, and it's something that PA should consider for the future. The newsletter is something I put together with content from the different department heads. Number one contact point for our membership, with a lot of membership commenting on its value. Other provincial leaders are also sent the newsletter and appreciate it and follow many of the things that we are doing here in Alberta. We developed a new state-of-the-art website. Ray Kiroak and myself met with the developer. We wanted to make a multi-platform website that could be used on a phone nowadays, or an iPad, or the computer. And Josh from Leads to Profit really did a great job with us. And Ray put a lot of time and effort, and I also like to thank the directors that gave a lot of content for us to put it up. So that's been a very successful initiative, and I think it's a website that'll take us far into the future, again, with being multi-platform. Their own post newsletter. Again, department updates, news of the day, events, competitions, Pickleball Cat updates, sponsors, power rankings, faces around the court. Faces around the court is one of the most popular sections of the newsletter. And I tried to get somebody from every part of the province, young, old, different types of volunteers. And yeah, it's, as you can see from the different pictures there, that's for over the last 12 months, September to August. A lot of great people, and making our sport for the better. Pickleball Alberta member contact. So this is something that again is kind of important, that we want to make sure that we're engaging with our membership, and are we being successful with that? Here you can see the different analytics with how many deliveries we've had each month. As you can see, as our membership grows, some of them are, we also continue to send to expired members to try to encourage them to come back. We'll probably change that in the following year. An incredible open rate of averaging 71%, or over 6,000 people now are opening it. There has been the question of what is an open to our newsletter. I did get this from the people that developed the system, and I'll just quickly read it. To track opens, the system will insert a small transparent image into each email. There may be many occasions where recipients will have opened the email, but it will not be counted as an open. For example, if there's an email application that doesn't load images, or they're using a non-HTML email, the technical their application, this is unfortunately a limitation of the tracking opens. So that's the best definition I can have of opens, because I know that has come up a couple times. But anyways, it's incredible to me how many people are opening it, no matter how you count it, even if it was half of that number. That's an incredible amount of people that are opening our newsletter. So very successful with that. The analytics with our website. So over the past 12 months, 5,646 sessions, page views 11,000. So 3,600 total users have looked at over 11,000 different pages on our website. You can see that 53% come from a desktop, 7% from tablet, 40% from mobile. And I'm sure mobile will continue to increase. And you can also see where our website is being opened from based upon the IP address, Canada obviously being the majority, and then all the way from the United States, China, United Kingdom, France, Mexico, Ireland, India, and Pakistan. So we have quite a large group going through our website. PATV, member engagement from this one has actually surprised me as well on how successful this has been. It's for live streaming, and we also did video. Wasn't live streaming of the Jamboree, but video. Total views of 10,868 for a total of people watching one of our live streams or videos for 963 total of 963 hours. Incredible amount of time. Again, you can see where the different places are coming from. Female, it's interesting, female are 35%, male are 65%. And then you've got the age demographic below there. 45 to 65 is kind of our sweet spot there. With the help of Brenda there and Dean in the future, hopefully that 25 to 34 will increase significantly. So that's been a surprising and very successful endeavor as well. So the summary contacts made with our different social media, our newsletter, website, PATV, it's a total of 87,853. Average engagements per member per year through the services about 16 per member. Alberta Pickleball Day and Junior Jamboree are also very high profile events for Pickleball Alberta for the membership. Also this year we've done caps, jackets, banners, accessories like bandanas and things. Also raised the awareness and identity of Pickleball Alberta to its members. So there aren't many people out there that said, I've never heard of Pickleball Alberta. Again, we've tried the best, and I think we are the most successful, I'm going to say, association in the world for being in contact and keeping our membership informed. Major events this year, going through them, and this is all the major events. We have the Canadian Nationals, Alberta Pickleball Day, Ilse Wong. Thank you very much for all the work you did with that and spearheading it. The June 55 plus games in Peace River, that was pretty well run by the Peace River Pickleball Club. July, we had our provincials in Medicine Hat, which was very successful. First time we did have the year awards, which were awarded at provincials. The nationals for 55 plus, our Alberta team. And then a very successful junior jamboree in Red Deer. Thank you very much to Brenda Fazer and her team and all her volunteers that made that an incredible success for our juniors. As you can see, the number that attended. Governance path moving forward for Pickleball Alberta. As you see, we spent a lot of time. Pickleball membership continues to increasingly grow along with more clubs affiliating each year. Current growth and time commitment with PA's current organizational structure is really not sustainable with the amount that we're doing. Pickleball Canada now has 2 full-time paid staff members and an office. Pickleball Quebec is about the same size as Pickleball Alberta, has a staff member and an office over the past year. Pickleball Alberta, really to be sustainable, has to move from an operational board to a best practices governance board and staff to handle the majority of the operations. Everything from maybe the newsletters to do a meeting preparation for also doing different events and things like that we have to help along with a lot of the organization and structure. It takes a lot of time. Also apparel and things like that. If we want to continue with that, I know I won't be this year. But just different things that we're doing takes a lot of time. Even updating the website is something to be considering, and also somebody that'll do the books. So best practices for governance and sustainable growth. Again, I've been involved in a number of different boards in sports where when we have a governance where we have a governing board that has different committees, and then they push down to an executive director that would have different staff members or just an executive director themselves that would be able to handle some of the operational load and take it off of our current volunteers. So this is kind of again, best practices type of structure. And I believe that we have to be moving towards this to continue the growth and the success that we're having. With that, it is a cost. Other annual membership fees that we looked at, again, from the websites. Tennis is $55 a year, racquetball is $35 a year, squash $55, badminton $25, pickleball right now is $5. So as you can see, we have quite a discounted and low rate compared to the other racket sports in Alberta. Again, these are Alberta sport organizations. Other annual membership fees, BC is still at $250, though they don't really have many programs going on. They also don't have provincials or a free program. Alberta, it's $5, where we do probably more initiatives, more programs, more events than anywhere else in Canada. Quebec, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba are all at 10. Quebec is the only one with a staff member. Membership fee increase feedback. In August 2022, we mentioned something about, we mentioned the $15 possible increase. To date, there's been over 6,300 opens to the newsletter. Expressing concerns, we had 3 club presidents that expressed concern. To me, that I'm aware of, no one as a member has expressed concern. I've had a number of texts, emails, and calls from members expressing support. And I will say in my 30 years, even if somebody hasn't said it, there must be somebody out there that would have an issue with it as a member. I'm not saying there's zero, but nobody expressed it to us. And after my 30 years is something that's the most compelling result that I've ever seen for a data set that size. It can be interpreted as an incredible show of member satisfaction. The motion to increase fees for 2023 was defeated by the board, which we did have put forward the $15. And therefore, there'll be no Pickleball Alberta fee increase for 2023, and there'll be no change to the organizational structure. The president's position for 2023-2025. I've served as the president for Pickleball Alberta now for 3 years. I have 1 year remaining on my second term. And this time I've also served as president, vice president of Pickleball Canada. Proud of the many things I've done in Alberta and Canada. I've enjoyed my time, but I've taken pickleball about as far as I can as president. And over the past 3 years, been heavily involved in all the departments. So over 2023, I'll also be taking a less active role. Haddo has expressed he will not want to take on the president's role. He is currently our vice president. I have spoken with a few others about the position, but it remains available. So anybody that's interested in being the president of Pickleball Alberta and continue on this success, please contact myself or Haddo over the next few months if you're interested. So that would be something that is really important to me. I guess one of the top jobs I say as a president is that you have to find a successor. So that's going to be one of my major functions here for the next 12 months, is to make sure I can try to find a president for Pickleball Alberta and continue on. Brad being our first president, we did an amazing job starting it up in 2016. Bev, how many years were you on for? Can't remember. 4, 6?
Oh, yeah, I've lost count. Yeah, well, yeah, it was 2016 was the formation meeting in June, and I was the first president, and then you took over in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So question, Kirk.
Yes, sir.
What if you do not find someone to volunteer for 2023 to 2025? Does that mean it still falls on your shoulders?
Geez, can we just worry about that when it comes and hope it doesn't happen? Hypotheticals, hopefully. I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll step forward. There's a lot of good people in Alberta that would take on the position, but and I'll be encouraging them. I will stay on, like Bev stayed on for me as past president. That's a new position that we formed when I became president. So I'll still stay on as past president, but we'll just assume we're going to get somebody, an exciting new leader that will take us to the next level.
You bet.
All right.
Can I ask why it was defeated, the motion to raise the membership fees? Or is that a whole nother conversation?
Yeah, that's a large conversation. It was, again, Jeff, we come out of there as one voice.
Yeah.
I'll probably just leave it at that, Jeff. I can talk to you one-on-one. Again, we came out of there as one voice. Whatever the vote is, the majority voted it down for different reasons, and we all have to respect that.
Okay.
All right. And Jeff, just it's not something that we can't address again for the next following year. So it's not like it's defeated for that motion is defeated for 2023, but we can still look at something for 2024.
Okay.
Look forward to your motion to have it put forward in 2024, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like we need to do it, but
Yeah.
I'm just new, so.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for your question.
Yep.
Okay. Haddo, are you on the call? I know Haddo's at a trade show and he was telling me that his service wasn't very good where he was at. Haddo, are you on the call? Okay, not hearing from Haddo. I'll just quickly go through his report here. He supported myself, the president of Pickleball Alberta, whenever I wasn't available, running meetings and again, doing different tasks that I asked him to. Did a great job at it. Super high energy young man. Really tried to encourage him to be the president for this year, but again, he's running his own business now that his father left to him, and very successful at that, which doesn't surprise me. And so he just doesn't really have the time, unfortunately, to step forward as president. He ensured that decisions being made are aligned with the values of Pickleball Alberta, stated with our student plan, and he supported youth initiatives and competitions for growth in Alberta. He was one of the big contributors for our junior jamboree, where we had probably a dozen different coaches, Brenda, that are high-level players that he brought out to the jamboree that all the juniors could watch play and play with. Membership, club management, Ray Kirawak did a great job with membership this year. He supported new and existing clubs and members in detail with a lot of passion. Developed and set up new clubs, taught them the new national system, PCNS, to the club membership managers. Collaborated with Pickleball Canada and the developer of the national system in other provinces on the leadership and stewardship of the national system. New and better features for PCNS. You can read them there. So I guess an important one there for all you member or your club presidents or membership directors is that we're going to be starting to delete expired members that are older than 2 years old out of the system. When I was the chair there, that was a decision and a motion that was made at the national level that we would keep people in the system for 2 years, and after that they would be deleted. There's also some sort of a data, and more probably through Quebec, that after 2 years you're not allowed to keep information to store. So if they're not active, you have to be deleting them. I believe it was something to that effect. And honestly, if somebody hasn't renewed for 2 years, doesn't mean they can't renew, but they would just get a different Pickleball Canada number, and their history wouldn't be retained. Again, that's for anybody older than 2 years. And again, that's a Pickleball Canada policy. Membership in clubs. This is our club map. You can also see this on our website. You can see that we have clubs that go right across the province from border to border to border. The zones that Bev mentioned there at the beginning of the meeting, the sport zones, you can see in the different colors, 1 to 8. And also in the map legend there, each zone has a particular name, the sunny south or big country, northeast, peace country. And it's something, again, one of our hopes, and again, hopefully with paid staff, we can be more aggressive with this, is that become a recognized sport. And this aligns with all the other major sports that are recognized, having these sport zones. It's important. I should probably make a point that I think that it's important to be a recognized sport, that they probably want to see continuity across a board where an executive director would have that. I'm not sure if they want to be giving money. Maybe they really believe in a certain leader and a certain board, but they want to make sure that, you know, who's coming in next, that they might be aware of, that might have concerns with where the money would be going, where an executive director carries across different boards, hopefully, getting a good, strong director. So again, this aligns with Alberta Sport Zones, and I believe gets us one step farther and closer to being a recognized sport in Alberta and getting some funding. It's beyond me how we've got turned down by, again, a grant that Bev and Brenda put a lot of work into for pickleball, but Brenda, maybe you can mention that during your report where we didn't get it, and it just shocks me to no end why we're not getting it as one of the most popular and most rapidly growing sports in the world, and for sure in Alberta. Pickleball Alberta affiliated clubs. We now, pardon the spelling mistake there. We have 5 more clubs affiliated now at 30. Several more are forming. We're also looking at doing different community leagues and facilities who are also interested, raising a lot of work. I was part of some of the conversations there. I see now with Pickleball Canada, they've taken his work now and put it forward to the provincials, other provinces, for approval and their feedback. So welcome this year to Fort Saskatchewan, Cochrane, Elk Point, Sundre, and Bow Valley. Glad to have you aboard. Membership demographics. The age of our membership is shifting slightly to the younger. I think, again, thanks to Brendan, probably just people realizing it's not an old person sport anymore, and it can be very competitive. It can be very intense. By gender, in 2022, 50% of our membership identified as female. So again, it's interesting that our competitive players are more males, but our recreation and general membership are more female. This here's a pretty telling graph of where we are, where we've been, starting in 2016 there with Bev and her team. And then in 2019, it had, you know, a really nice rise there. But then in 2019 through most of 2020, we were in COVID, where we couldn't play a lot, and therefore there wasn't a lot of growth in membership. Quite surprising, we didn't really have a decrease in membership either. And then after COVID left, our general membership just went on fire here. Since September of 2021, we've had a 71% increase in our membership, from 4,300 members now to over 7,600 members.
Any reason why that big jump? Any thoughts on that, Kirk?
Well, I think that pickleball is getting a lot of just general exposure through media and things like that. I think that the professional tour is bringing some people in. I think it gets to be organic when you're just based upon, we call the popcorn theory, where the more people you get, all of a sudden you get a critical mass. The wheel starts turning and turning, and it just takes off on its own. I also think in Alberta here, again, we've done a great job connecting with our membership. And so people see a reason to join Pickleball Alberta. I know that there's probably as many that have joined Pickleball Alberta that are players that are playing pickleball that haven't. So even though we have a 7,600, I'm sure there's probably over 15,000 that probably have played pickleball. So there's still a lot for us to capture there. And I know, well, if we have a similar increase, we'd have 13,000 members by end of September 2023.
Yeah. Okay, no, thanks.
Yeah. Technology, Ray Kerouac also took care of this national system. He took care of our Google Drive. We maintain our domain license. And again, Ray and I worked extensively with Josh from Leads to Profits, and we launched our new website in the spring in time for the new season on May 1st. Officiating report, good. Garen, I don't have to speak anymore. You are the man. Garen Jones, our officiating director.
Well, you're doing such a great job, Kirk. I don't know. I think you should just carry on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we continue to hold a number of clinics throughout Alberta. We had 7 in 2022, and there you'll see the centers that we held them at, including one just recently in Calgary, which was the second one there. Our total accredited referees in Alberta now is 81. Actually, since I actually put this information in, we've got a couple of more, so we're up to about 83.
Oh.
So that includes level 1, level 2, and we have 9 certified referees, which is the most in Canada. We have 9 of the 22 USA Pickleball certified referees in Canada. And also through our National Officiating Advisory Council, which I sit as a representative of Alberta, we've done a complete review of our referee program, and we're about 80% towards having our own Canadian certification program. We have some key positions to try and fill over the winter that would make this program move forward. But hopefully by 2023, we will be able to offer a Canadian certification program. And I'd just like to say, you know, a part of the great success of the officiating report here, and a big part of it, is the trainers we have. Mm-hmm. And I know that Brian's on here, Brian Shribney, Brian and Julie Shribney, Jean and Val Volman, Trevor Berndred, all do an awful lot of training on these various clinics and assessments and so forth. So I have a great team that I work with, and I'm very appreciative of that. And that's about all I have to report. And I'll answer any questions if anybody has any.
I think maybe, Garen, you could mention too that we had a kind of a first there where Canada did our own level 3 certification, and one of them was from Alberta.
Right. Yeah. Actually, we had a couple of referees from Canada who actually received their USA referee certification in Alberta at Medicine Hat at the provincial tournament there. One of them was from BC, that was Elizabeth Folk, and the other one was from Red Deer, which was Bob Phillip. Now, both of those candidates had spent extensive time in the US being mentored and trained, and then had done their advanced training session in the US and USA Pickleball. Because we have one of the certified evaluators for USA Pickleball resident in Canada, allowed us to certify them here in Canada. So that was a first, and we made history, I guess, with that. So yes, it was nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, congratulations there, Garen. And also,
So that,
yep, go ahead.
I was going to say that 81 accredited referees, or 83, whatever it is, like, is that where we need to be? Do we need more? Like,
good question.
How does?
Good question, Jeff. Well, we always need more, and of course, as we start to have more and more tournaments, obviously there's going to be a bigger need for referees. You know, some of the referees do spend a lot of time traveling to other tournaments, but a lot of referees choose to just stay in their local area and referee. So obviously, you know, we want more. And, you know, my goal that I've personally set for myself is that we're going to surpass 100 in 2023. And of course, as we hold more and more major events, we are going to have a bigger need. And so we're going to continue to build. And I guess the sky's the limit, so to speak. All we need is people who are interested and passionate about the game of pickleball to step forward, and we'll train them.
Okay.
Well, question,
Thank you.
Durand, on are any of these referees paid?
Well, referees, we do have a recommended pay scale in Pickleball Canada. And with that being said, that's probably under review right, or will be shortly here. They're paid a modest amount. And considering the distances that some of them travel, obviously, it's certainly not a money-making position. It's they contribute a lot of money to travel to these events and so forth, and they get a modest amount of pay. So that's going to be reviewed, like I say, and we may see that increased here in the future.
But that pay structure fee comes out of Pickleball Canada and not Alberta?
No, the fee for referees being paid comes out of the local tournaments that are being organized.
Yeah.
It's part
oh,
of the tournament costs in
Yeah.
having referees. And it's been proven that players want to attend tournaments with referees. You know, they want it to be something different than just recreational play, where you're self-refereeing yourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that doesn't work out so well. So they like to have somebody there who's, you know, non-biased, who can make you know, a proper rule call or a proper call relative to anything that takes place during the match.
Okay.
That brings up an interesting question, Garen. So with the review that Pickleball Canada is going to do on the referee, is the idea that they will come back with, you mentioned suggested, will they come back with not so much a suggested, but more a demanded compensation and some, so that we get some level of consistency around both compensation, travel costs, all that kind of stuff that's been talked about?
Well, I think it will be a recommended pace level. However, it's up to each individual tournament to decide whether or not they want to follow it. The only thing is that obviously if it's a sanctioned tournament, there's going to be a little bit more, I guess, of a requirement for sanctioned tournaments to follow that pay scale, especially if they expect to have referees attend. Because as we see, and as we've seen in the US, there are so many tournaments now that referees actually have choices of which tournaments they attend. So if you want to have a sanctioned tournament and you want to have particularly certified referees or level 2 referees or level 1 referees attending, you're going to sort of have to follow the pay scale in order to get them to attend. Otherwise, they're not going to perhaps attend, and you're going to find yourself short of referees.
Thanks.
And I guess on that note, Karen, like our provincials, what were we, about 90% had officiating for 400?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think we had 8 matches in total that did not have referees. And as Wanda can probably, or Ken can probably contribute to, there were long days and it was hot weather, and we had to scramble to have the referees work. And I know one referee in particular worked 20 matches in one day, which is, you know, incredible, especially when it's, you know, plus 30 degrees out there. So we obviously need to create more referees, and we need to provide more of an incentive for these referees to attend these major events. Because like I said, there's a cost there to them, you know, whether it's travel costs, hotel costs, etc. It adds up. So that's one of the reasons why, as the National Officiating Advisory Council, we're sort of reviewing what referees are paid, and we'll be making a suggestion to Pickleball Canada board that they approve perhaps a change.
Yeah, and I guess it should be saying for Pickleball Alberta there, we do give them a shirt to kind of give them some credibility and a bit of uniform look across the courts there, where the blue is a level 1, Garen, and gold's level 2, like our 2 colors of our provincial logo and our provincial colors. So and also for level 3, we've introduced, I'll let you say that, Garen, for this year. It's probably something new that we're introducing for level 3.
Well, and you know, with the level 1s and level 2s, I will say, first of all, that Alberta was the first province in Canada to actually implement that type of program, and a lot of the provinces now are following suit. So it's been very well received. And what the provinces are doing, they're sort of they're choosing their own colors. So for example, we've gone with blue and yellow being symbolic of the Pickleball Alberta colors. New Brunswick has gone with red, and so on, and they vary from province to province. Not all provinces have instituted that yet, but a new program we're going to introduce for our certified referees who up until this point have received nothing through Pickleball Alberta. And for any level 2 or level 1 referees that have refereed 200 matches, we're going to actually get them a referee bag, a referee pouch that they would wear around their waist, that they can put their the balls in, the clips, the pencils, etc. And it will actually have a Pickleball Alberta logo on it. And if they're a certified referee, it will also say certified referee on it. And if they've refereed 200 matches or more, it'll say 200 on it. So that's something new we're going to institute. And actually, I've got the pouches here sitting in my office here. I just have to arrange to get them embroidered, and we'll be distributing those over the next few months.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Fantastic. Good, Garen. Well, any other questions for Garen on officiating? Okay, Garen, again, thank you very much for your incredible job that you and your team are doing for officiating in Alberta and setting the standard for across Canada. And I'm going to also say that the US seems like they've kind of taken our idea as well and given shirts or providing shirts for other lower level referees. They only used to do for level 3. Now they're doing it for the other levels as well.
Kirk, I do have one question. It's Ken
Yeah.
McPhail.
Yeah, Ken, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, just maybe Garen could answer it, but as it relates to the federal sport funding, I know refereeing is one of the criteria. Can you expand on if we're meeting that level in Alberta yet, or what it would look like across the provinces in terms of, are they meeting it, and how would that look like for getting our Canadian sport accreditation?
Just to clarify, Ken, are you asking based on the number of referees we have versus the number of members, or based on the number of referees we have versus the number of tournaments, or are you suggesting something relative to pay?
No, nothing to do with pay. Just, I know with federal sport funding, part of it is to have officiating, proper officiating, right? And so how does that, what is it that is that criteria? I don't understand that criteria. And I just wonder if Alberta might be meeting it, but maybe no other provinces are, or something like that.
Yeah, and I can't really answer that, Ken, because I do not know the answer to it. You know, I will say that, yeah, obviously Alberta, I think we're leading the way as far as referees are concerned, because we have a fairly conscientious, concentrated training process in place. Whereas I'm not sure other provinces are doing the same extent. Just to give you an indication, Brian and Julie Shribney traveled to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia here in September of 2021 and trained a number of referees down there. And, you know, one of the things that we're trying to do is with our program, trying to get enough level 2 referees in place in these various areas so that they can provide the training to people who are interested in becoming referees. Because right now, of course, you know, it's very difficult for, you know, 2 people or 4 people or whatever to, you know, cover all of Alberta, as well as perhaps travel outside the province as well to provide training. So that's something we're doing. But as far as meeting the federal sports funding guides, sorry, I do not know what that standard is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Ken, when I was on Pickleball Canada's board, I don't recall that being something that was on the list there to check off, but it actually makes sense. How do you have an official sport if you're a recognized sport if you don't have officials that are meet a standard? So that's a good question. All right, thank you again very much, Garen, for incredible work in making Pickleball Alberta what it is on the officiating scale. Junior Pickleball, Brenda Fazer from Red Deer, you're up.
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, the first thing I'd like to talk about is the junior demographics, because it's quite exciting. We saw a huge increase. It more than doubled this year. And so that was quite exciting. So we had about 49 at the end of last year. And now I checked today and we're up to 105. something that we do need to pay attention to is that whereas in the adult pickleball membership, 56% are female. In the junior memberships, only about 30% are female. So that might be an area we have to look at for programming and stuff like that. To help address that particular problem, I came across a grant that Alberta is offering, Sport Alberta, or SPAR, I guess it is. It's called the Same Game Challenge. And they're looking for different groups to participate in conversation and study and programming to determine how we can get more girls involved in sport. So we've applied to participate, and Ilsa has also volunteered to assist with that. And we'll certainly share that information with the junior team moving forward if we're fortunate enough to participate in that. Okay, next slide, please, Kirk. So similar to the adult membership, we have juniors throughout the province, which is very encouraging. Some of the zones don't have as many for reasons other than they don't have junior players. For example, in Calgary, the Calgary Pickleball Club is an adult-only club. So there are lots of kids that play pickleball in Calgary, but very few of them have joined a club. And similarly with Edmonton, they've got 11 juniors in the zone who are members of Pickleball Alberta, but they mostly participate in clubs in St. Albert, Parkland. Yeah, so it's just growing. It's still really new, and I'm pretty optimistic that it's going to increase at a fairly quick rate over the next few years, particularly because we know that just about every school has a pickleball program in it. All right, next slide. So this year we focused on these 4 initiatives. We offered clubs the opportunity to apply for a $300 grant from Pickleball Alberta to help purchase equipment that they might need for junior pickleball lessons. We also offered grants to schools who were introducing pickleball. We provided them with a class set of pickleballs. And we initiated a junior scholarship program. We didn't have very many juniors that were of the age for this scholarship yet, but we have it in place now, and it's out there for juniors in the next few years that might qualify for that. And we also initiated a junior jamboree this year, which was very successful. And I'll maybe talk about that a bit on the next slide. I also wanted to indicate that we do have juniors that are interested in competing in tournaments. We had a couple apply at nationals and also westerns and also provincials. But unfortunately, there's not enough of them yet to have their own junior event. I was quite excited at the Red Deer Open tournament because we had 9 or maybe even 10 junior age players registered in that tournament, which is more than any of the other ones. And they competed in the adult categories, and they actually did fairly well. Several of them winning gold in other medals. Okay, next slide, please.
Actually, there you go.
Same one.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Junior Jamboree was for ages 8 to 18. It was hosted in Red Deer. It was chosen because it's a central location. And we have a very enthusiastic coaching team right now that are working with a lot of junior players in the Red Deer area. So we hosted it there. We had 43 registrations, which was beyond anything that I was expecting even a month prior to that. So it was quite exciting. We had 12 girls, 31 boys. And as Kirk mentioned before, we had Haddo and Sarah. They arranged for some of their outstanding players, friends to come and participate, including Brittany and Zach Brown, Chris Elaine, Kevin Duff, Kim Layton, Mike Hamilton, Jill Richardson, and Connor Weeks. And so they did a demonstration, and they also paired up with some of the players and played games like to 7 points. So like that was just a real treat for these players. They really enjoyed it. Also, there was about 15 volunteer coaches, most of them NCCP trained, and they were all assigned a small group of girls or boys and provided, you know, another hour, an hour and a half of instruction and activities for those kids. So I think the participants got a lot of activity, and they got to see what to look forward to with these high-level players that came to participate. And in addition to that, there was some excitement because Kirk arranged with Poach Paddles, we were able to offer paddles to the juniors only for $30, because we know there's a lot of kids out there that want to play, but they don't own a paddle. So, so far, I believe about 95 of those paddles were sold. So thank you, Kirk, for arranging that. That was a super exciting inclusion to our junior jamboree.
I'll just say, Brenda, I was in Red Deer there at that small tournament yesterday, and I saw 3 juniors playing with the paddle.
Yay!
Great to see that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the jamboree was not expensive to run. We charged a $10 registration fee, which covered some of our prizes, and also we had a barbecue. So we kind of tried to make it a break-even thing. So, and then the other thing I just want to mention is I really have to send kudos out to Kirk, because when you ask him to do a little favor by being like the do the speaking at the jamboree, he really goes the distance, and he made it very exciting. He took video, he interviewed the kids, and it just really made it a very exciting event. And so thank you for that, Kirk. I'm always grateful for your energy and your support and making it real for everybody.
Thanks, Brenda.
Do I have another slide?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So some of the other initiatives that we might want to consider for future years is to promote junior pickleball as a grassroots sport. We don't have to always just focus on perhaps the ones that join a club or the more competitive players, but try to reach out, because we've got tennis courts in just about every community in Alberta. And if we really truly want to grow the grassroots of our sport, all we need to do is get a paddle into the hands of the youth, and they'll truck over to those tennis courts and play pickleball. I've seen it happening in Red Deer in the recreation program. They actually bought a set of pickleball paddles that they use at their Meet Us in the Park program. So initiatives like that, I think, will really contribute to our grassroots program. I mentioned a little bit before training and promotion of junior girls in pickleball because in participation data, they show that participation by junior girls in general is really quite a bit lower than boys in any sport. So we might have to pay attention to that a little bit. Thank you also to all those involved, because there's quite a few of them involved in junior coach training, NCCP, safe sport, the criminal checks. So those are all an important aspect in junior pickleball. And we look forward to having lots more skill development clinics, hopefully some regional play. So clubs can have some inter-club play, more junior only competitions, and maybe even we can get to the point of having an elite players for a Team Alberta that can go to Westerns and to nationals, and maybe even some cross borders, provincial borders. So there's lots of things that we can look forward to, I think, in the future years. And I'm really happy that Dean has stepped forward and offered to take on that portfolio, and I wish him well with it.
Very good, Brenda. I'll just say, Brenda, like an amazing job that you've done, Brenda. Like it's one thing to maintain a program, it's another one basically to create it and to get the foot off the ground. Like, and you've done an amazing job with junior pickleball this year that there's not many could have put as much energy and time and focus into it, something as important as it is to a sport as you have for our junior program. So thank you very much. But with that, I'll ask. Yes, absolutely.
I enjoyed it immensely. It was just a real joy to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, very good. Any questions for Brenda or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward. Thank you, Brenda.
You bet.
Competitions, Wanda.
Good afternoon. So since October 1st of last year, we had 20 competitive events on our calendar, 9 sanctioned tournaments, 9 non-sanctioned tournaments, of course, our junior jamboree, and we had 1 non-affiliated, which was the Southern Alberta Summer Games, which was hosted by the Coaldale Pickleball Club. Medicine Hat Pickleball Club hosted the first closed Alberta Provincials. We had, we thought we'd be very happy if we got even 350 players, but 428 registered for the Provincials July 8th to 10th. And they were played on the new 20-court facility that Medicine Hat itself started playing on in the beginning of July. So it was a wonderful experience for players. Just want to congratulate everyone that attended, that medaled, the referees, and all of the volunteers. The Yellowhead Pickleball Club hosted its first ever sanctioned tournament this season. And I know I was down south at the time, and I know that they were having, let's say, a few challenges. And Kirk stepped in and helped with the, not the organization, but with the draw that was being used and was taking place that weekend. So thank you, Kirk, for that. Other clubs hosted their first sanctioned tournaments in 2 years since COVID in 2019. These sanctioned tournaments saw players coming together from Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. October 19th was the date of our first junior jamboree in Red Deer. Thank you, Brenda, for organizing that. What a wonderful opportunity for our juniors to get together and experience play and clinics together. Many of our players travel to Westerns in Regina and also to our nationals in Kingston. Congratulations to all of those players. Many of our clubs hosted non-sanctioned tournaments for their club members, allowing many players the opportunity to experience their first tournament play ever. And I think it's, once you play in a tournament, you're kind of hooked, just like when you first start playing pickleball. So hopefully a lot of those new tournament players will continue on and attend many tournaments throughout Alberta and beyond. So Pickleball Alberta we're very proud of all the success that these tournaments exhibited and experienced this year. And we are continually reminded of the leadership, planning, volunteers, and referees needed to host the events. Many, many, many volunteers and hours and referees and great leadership. So kudos to all. So currently we have 4 tournaments listed on the 2023 calendar. I don't know if you want to maybe, is that the next slide, Kirk?
Yep, there you go.
So you'll see in 2023, we've heard from the Parkland Pickleheads out of Spruce Grove. They're hosting 4 tournaments. We're still looking for clubs that are interested in hosting provincials and the Western regionals. So if you are interested, please contact me. If you have any questions about these 2 tournaments specifically, again, please contact me. And clubs, I'll be sending out a letter to everyone at the beginning of October, looking for your 2023 tournament dates. I'd like them as soon as possible so we can get our calendar filled and players can start planning their 2023 summer of pickleball. And because we'd like to sort of get a circuit going where, you know, every year who is hosting tournaments in June, who's hosting in July, who's hosting in August. And players can be a little bit more organized, and we all can. And anyone have any questions?
I have one.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead, Peter, first.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Which-
I guess I've,
sorry.
I
Peter,
I was a spectator at last year in Red Deer's national tournament and quite blown away by the facility they had there. And I think they have 20 courts. And down in Medicine Hat for the provincials, they also had, I think, 20 courts. So do you have a feel for how many courts you need to think about hosting a tournament?
Well, definitely for the larger tournaments where you're going to draw, you know, provincials, Westerns, Canadians, definitely 20 and above courts. When you start, you either need to have a certain number of courts and a certain number of days, right? So what happened in Medicine Hat, even with 20 courts and 428 players, there were some very long days. And for Westerns, I know that when one of our clubs was looking at hosting that tournament, they were going to move it to 5 days instead of 4 days. So those are some of the options. But if you're a club and you have 8 courts, you can definitely hold a tournament over 3 days. You're just going to have to limit the number of people that you have.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Wanda?
Yes.
So Peter Walker here. A couple of things. So on your chart, you're saying the Western regionals to be determined.
That's correct.
I think that the Western regionals next year have been awarded to Parkland, I thought, and the dates are set for it. Maybe the dates aren't set, but they are holding the 2023 Western regionals.
I'm sorry, they're not.
Oh, they're not.
They're not. They have had they've had some construction issues. They were going to expand the number of courts. That was the hope for 2023. And that looks like that's not moving as along as quickly as we all hoped. So they have let those go, and it's open for bid again.
Okay, that's, yes, no, that, thanks for letting me know, because I sit on the board of Pickleball Canada, and that hasn't been communicated to us yet on the board of Pickleball Canada, but I'm sure our next meeting will say that. And no, and that's fine. I had one other question. No, I guess. maybe-
I'll just quick,
Sorry.
can I just,
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
I'll just quickly comment to that, Peter. I'm sorry that you're not aware of that.
Gary, maybe just mention you're president of Parkland Pickleheads.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm the president of the Parkland Pickleheads, which some of you may know, some of you may not know. But we just sent notification to Pickleball Canada to Deanna and Karen on Friday, indicating that we're withdrawing our bid for the Western Regionals. We're just logistically, it just isn't going to work for us this year. You know, with 12 courts and trying to put the tournament over 5 days and construction probably happening on site. There's all kinds of issues regarding parking, amenities, access, etc. We just felt that it was not good for us to go ahead and try and do it. We've always prided ourselves in having good tournaments in Spruce Grove, and we felt that this may not prove itself to be one of those good tournaments. So we felt it's best that we withdraw and let somebody else have the opportunity.
Well, thanks for the update. I'll probably get an email on Monday.
Thank you for clarifying that, Garen. Anything else? Thank
All
you.
right, great. Thank you very much for all the work and keeping our membership always up to date there with your calendar and communication you keep continuing to have with our clubs there to making sure they're always got you on the list there. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
excellent. All right. Coaching, Ilsa.
Hello, everybody. Just quickly, in terms of the coaching portfolio, which I took over in December of last year, we quickly, or hopefully fairly quickly, created a coaching working group with a number of volunteers across the province, everybody and across the province from Lisa Lovelace up in Grand Prairie, Mike Cooper, and Kirk eventually joined as well from Edmonton area. Mike Gaisley, Stephen Hansen, and Kevin Doucette from the Calgary area, Dean Kreutsch from Red Deer, and Heather Kuhnfer from Okotoks. So a pretty not only diverse in terms of interest, but also in terms of certifications, because the main certification program through Pickleball Canada and Tennis Canada is the NCCP program. Level 1 rollout started a little less than a year, or about a year ago. And in about that time, we've have over 90 level 1 certified coaches. Level 2, just as an update, is actually being piloted right now. Last weekend, they ran 2 sessions, one in Ottawa and one in Toronto. And I've been in contact with the Tennis Canada and Pickleball Canada, and they are looking to bring a level 2 potentially to Alberta in January. So we might be one of the first provinces to get a level 2, which will be pretty exciting for us.
Awesome.
We also participated in Alberta Pickleball Day, which was June 11th, as a bit of a kickstart to the outdoor season. We got some pretty good responses, social media postings, etc. for the day. We had some competitions, and those were pretty well received by the membership. And we had contributions from Poach Pickleball and Shuswap in terms of prizes for that. And finally, I have been fortunate to be sitting in some of the national pickleball meetings as they relate to coaching. They have had Mark Renison, who is the current lead facilitator of all of the levels NCCP programs, coming and attending those meetings for about a half an hour every other meeting to give some updates on not only how the coaching rollout has been going, but also where we're headed with that program in the future. So In terms of where we're moving, probably the next step for us is to look at the juniors. We've had a lot of requests for programs that can either be integrated into the schools or clubs themselves, can start to look at using, whether they be through the NCCP program or the ITPTA program. And so I think our next step as a coaching working group will be to put together a program for not just juniors, but also really new players, so that clubs can start to look at ways to run sessions if they'd like to. Some of you may be familiar with the basketball program that was called the STARS program a few years back. Something similar to that program is likely something that I think we want to try to roll out at some point next year. And again, mostly intended to increase the number of junior program players that we have across the province, but also I think it has some value in new players, which of course is the level 1 certification to learn to play. Any questions?
Yeah, Peter Walker again, also.
Hi, Peter.
Hi. Since they're rolling out finally the level 2 coaching, and I did see that note before, has there been any discussion with equivalencies, et cetera, with like Alberta has, I believe, a fair number of USAPA certified coaches at certain levels. Has there been any discussions yet with Pickleball Canada, Tennis Canada on any equivalencies they're going to accept from those coaches into the level 2 yet?
I'm not familiar with what the USAPA, which program they eventually integrated into from a coaching perspective. Regardless, the NCCP does have an equivalency, a set of criteria for equivalency. For level 1, if I'm doing this off the top of my head, I believe it was the equivalent of 1,000 hours of pickleball coaching, a minimum 3.5 or 3.0, and a letter of support from the provincial organization. So there actually are some criteria set in place for equivalency for level 1. And as they roll out each successive level, they will introduce the equivalencies for those levels as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yep. Any other questions?
I'll just maybe make a comment there, just for Pickleball Alberta, is that back in the winter there, Pickleball Alberta fully subsidized probably about, I don't know, do you remember how many coaches we subsidized to take the level 1 courses that Mark put on?
I feel like it might have been anywhere from 18 to 22 in that range.
Yeah, which is around, well, yeah, that's probably somewhere in that number. So, and that was probably around $3,000 or $4,000 that we subsidized. I think it was depending on the size of the club. If it was under 200, we subsidized 1. And if it was a club over 200 members, we subsidized 2 with a full invitation. So that, again, Pickleball Alberta, seeing the importance of a coaching program and coaches in our game. So we wanted to make sure that that was not a roadblock for the cost for some of the coaches to take the course. So, and I have to say, Elsa, thank you very much for representing Alberta at the Pickleball Canada Impact meetings. That's really important that you're there. So good stuff. I know they have another one coming up here. I think, I don't know if you got the note there, but another one's coming up. So
yeah,
very good. All right. Thank you very much, Elsa. Bev, you taught nice bridge there from Pickleball Canada to the bilateral reviewing ongoing. So
there we go.
more than thank you very much, Bev, for taking this important but absolutely I don't want to say difficult, but important. We'll just leave it an important initiative on for the.
Yes, I think we all are familiar with the earlier January 2022 proposed revisions that were ultimately retracted. And so with the election of their new officers or directors for Pickleball Canada in May, in June, they formed a governance committee of the Pickleball Canada board. And a key role of that is to lead the discussions and the whole process of creating bylaws for Pickleball Canada. There's been some meetings. It's been a little slow to start, but it feels like we're starting to get some momentum now. And the big discussion is on a membership class. I'd just like to point out that 2 members of the Pickleball Canada board who are on the governance committee are also Albertans. Doug Fogg, who is the appointed rep for the Western provinces, and it was Alberta's turn, and Peter Walker, who was elected as a board of directors. So for Pickleball Canada this past year. I would like to see this project through as long as it's in my lifetime. It's really important, and I will be mainly reporting into the Pickleball Alberta board and recommending some material that can go out to clubs. But if there's any, and I know there's a few that are quite interested in this area that are out there, anyone who's wants to know what's happening or has a view on bylaws for the national level, you can reach out to me anytime. On next slide. The other main project that I was involved in this year was rolling out the vulnerable sector checks. And that was a part of a screening process and an abuse prevention policies that were introduced and updated at Pickleball Canada and then rolled down to provinces. So we're in the process of finalizing policies, or almost there, but it's a jurisdictional thing that we kind of have to sort out. But in the meantime, after consulting with clubs, and we had some great sessions, and the coaching working group also reviewed a lot of stuff. We've had some really retired and active police folk who have the pickleball habit provide advice and guidance to us too. So it's been a good process. So far, we have 21 members that have successfully completed the vulnerable sector checks, and that's the gold standard that you really need for volunteering with youth and vulnerable adults. And at the time of writing, it was the clubs of Camrose, Parkland, and Red Deer. And since then, we've had about 5 members of the Medicine Hat Pickleball Club start the application process. I've yet to get a report back from the Medicine Hat Police Department, but I'm sure that'll be forthcoming pretty soon. The next slide. The other part of screening is just police checks, and Pickleball Canada and other provinces have introduced Sterling Back Check. It's an online screening process. They're used for a lot of other sports, hockey, and many other sports. So also, if you've taken the NCCP, I think you have to complete the Sterling Back Check, what they call the Enhanced Police Information Check. It's done online typically, unless there's some extra information that needs to be obtained. It's turned around within a day. So we have set up account for Pickleball Alberta, and it's set up so that if a club decides they want to use police checks for maybe some of their board positions, for example, for Pickleball Alberta, we said directors with signing authority should have a police information check, and so that is available for clubs to access Sterling Back Check if they want to, and the cost is $25. I've had Connie Trinchy from Parkland, Marcel Latouche from Okotoks, and Dave Edwards from Parkland step forward and provide a lot of comments and review and suggestions for our screening work. And so I want to acknowledge their contribution this year. It's worked out pretty well. Any questions on anything that I've just talked about? Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Bev, for this hard work and the team that you put together for this. It's something that isn't for everybody to do, but it's what everybody needs. Yeah, thank you for your leadership on this, Bev.
I have a quick question.
Sherry.
It's Sherry from Calgary Pickleball Club. So now this, the police check or the vulnerable sector check. Now, what's the cost of that?
The vulnerable sector check, when it's done for a not-for-profit organization for their volunteers, there's no cost. We've had the Red Deer Police Department, if they charge $5 as sort of like a processing fee, because you need to apply through your police department that based on where you live. But there's, in any of the other jurisdictions, there's been no extra charge at all. So there's no charge for the vulnerable sector check. The police check, it's through Sterling Back Check. It costs $25. Okay.
Just wondering, like, we'll be putting our budget together pretty quick here. Now, I think I had a conversation with you one day on the court, and there was something that was maybe $100. What was that? Do you remember that conversation, or no? That was me making it up.
Sorry. In this area, I can't think of anything that was costing $100 or something like that. Sorry.
Okay, or maybe that was
drawing a blank on that. Yeah.
Was that a conversation I had with you, Ilsa, or something?
I don't recall anything.
Okay.
I remember we talked about the cost of the vulnerable sector check, and it's usually minimal, if anything. I've heard somebody tell me it was $10 if you had the letter requiring it, but again, I think it's probably an admin fee, depending on where you are.
Okay, good.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, thanks again, Bev.
Okay.
So now we move to our financial portion of our meeting, AGM. Unfortunately, Dwight is a coach for his young son, and his first practice landed right on top of our AGM. So what I will need here, might as well get it out of the way before discussion, is you know what, we'll have our discussion first. This is the and I'll try to lead it here. This is the financial statement that Dwight has put together. Jeff, I don't think you had anything to do with this, did you, at that point when he was doing these numbers?
Not yet, no. Yeah, I just kind of got the chart of accounts set up in QuickBooks, and that's it. So.
Okay, good, thanks, Jeff. So this is what he's gone through with the different receipts and the different revenue streams that we've had. So our membership fees, I think it's all pretty self-explanatory there, was $31,000. Interest, apparel, sponsorship, donations, programs and clinics, ticket sales. So we had a total revenue of 49,000, just over. And then for our expenses, officiating, coaching, junior, again, you can see it all laid out there. We're hoping at one point here again that we'll be able to have an AGM that we can probably do with two different, maybe even both in person and also with Zoom, but that's why we normally had facility and hall rentals, travel and miles accommodations to cover that. But again, this year we're doing it with Zoom, so it wasn't covered. So we had a total expenses of $45,000 or $905 with a surplus of $3,443.81. I'll try to do my best to answer any questions on it. I know Dwight has, again, most of all the source paperwork on this, but anybody have any questions on the different items here?
I just see with the sponsorship, Kirk, so if we wouldn't have had that, we would have had a slight deficit there.
That's right.
So was that for a tournament, or what would that have been for?
No, that was, well, it was just for overall for Pickleball Alberta. They got their logos on the newsletter every month. They got on the lanyards of the medals. They got on the live streaming their logos, and got on social media. So it was kind of an overall sponsorship that each of the ones got for in its entirety.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
The other question that comes to mind is revenue is reflective, obviously membership fees being the biggest piece of it. It was talked about that we had more members than we perhaps budgeted for this year. How does this compare to budgeted?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know it's more than, I think we budgeted, was it 6,000? And I know right now, I'd have to look in, but maybe it was 5,000 we budgeted for, and we have 6,300 members. So yeah, we're well over our budgeted amount that we were for membership.
So does that mean on the expenses side, we're a little bit over our skis in terms of spend as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that said, and I don't recall the last year's budget offhand. If we were in a deficit position, I don't think we would have wanted to have a deficit budget, but it might have been the case.
From a feedback, yeah, just from a feedback perspective, that might be something to look at for next time as a, as a comparison sake. It's one to look at what happened. Let's talk about, what could have happened or what should have happened, right? So.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've got a question. Maybe just a question on the apparel and accessories being at like 15.6 and the sales of apparel being at 11. Is that something that can be adjusted, or is there some other explanation to that?
Yeah, with that, Ken, we haven't sold all our apparel yet. We still have jackets and we still have some paddles that we'll sell. And I think we probably have about $3,000 worth of jackets still, and probably about $500 worth of paddles. So that'll still come across. And again, for apparel, like we give away directors' jackets, we give away prizes there at provincials, for example, different people that answer different questions we give away. So it's not really a make, not necessarily making money on it. We make about, I think it's $15 or $20 a jacket. That's what we're doing. So it's not like we make a lot. Again, it's just more to get the brand out there, and it's a service to our members to get them those jackets. So probably if you're looking at it, it's going to be closer to $14,000 that we have. So just a difference of about $1,600.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah. Kirk, I had just one question on that.
Yeah.
I know you'd said we provided shirts for all the referees, et cetera, and that's a great program. Would that have, rather than being apparel and accessories, maybe should some of that be into the officiating program? Because maybe we're just not accounting for it in the right place, if you know what I mean. Yeah, well, I believe, and Garen, I'm not sure if you were part of it. I believe that is in the officiating line there, Peter. Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. I was just.
Yeah, I'll just comment on that if I may, just to answer Peter's question. Yeah, the officiating program, the 4181 expense does include the purchase of a large number of shirts for referees. And I have an inventory of probably, a lot of shirts. Let's put it that way. Because one of the things with the referee shirts is we have male, we have female, we have sizes from small to double XL. We have ladies, we have men's, we have the 2 levels of level 1, level 2. So I have a lot of inventory sitting here at my house for referee shirts. I'm hoping to not buy any this coming year, but probably I would say about $2,300 of that expense is for shirts. The rest of it is for some travel expense. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll also echo that. It's the same thing for the jackets, where we have men's, women's, and all the different sizes. And I'm the one that's been doing all of that work between processing orders, payments, shipping, embroidering. Kirk's getting out of that business, so we won't be doing a lot of apparel next year. So if you haven't got a jacket, there's a few left, so make sure you get it.
Are those available for sale on our site, or?
No, I just every now and then I put it in the newsletter.
Okay.
And sometimes we bring it to different events and tournaments, but otherwise, yeah, just contact me if you want one.
What about promotions there, Kirk? What that's a big number as well. Is there anything that can be explained there?
Promotions, that would be, I believe the paddles, the pickleball paddles were there for the juniors. The live streaming was in there. Again, I don't have all the line items. Unfortunately, Dwight has those sources, so I can't say exactly, Ken, what all the different items are.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's
something I'll be able to track a lot better with QuickBooks once we get all that set up.
Yeah. And it's much more, also the accounts there, I think it's thanks to the St. Albert Pickleball Club, we got their chart of accounts. It's much more detailed than this as well, isn't it, Jeff? More line items.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's again, it's taking Pickleball Alberta to another level here. We're kind of at that point as well. We can get that. And I think, Jeff, just as a note, I don't want to commit you to this. You are also looking at going back into history and as well putting in numbers, aren't you, to have some comparisons?
Yeah, I can certainly do that. I'll just need the bank statements and
Yeah.
I can get those from Dwight. So
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Good. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I require a motion to approve the financial statement as shown. Can I get a mover of the motion, please?
I so moved.
motion.
Peter.
Peter
Again,
Wunke, Airdrie.
Edry, thank you. Can I get a seconder?
I can second it.
Jeff, just say your name and for the minutes, sir.
Jeff Home,
In the club, Jeff?
St. Albert.
Okay.
Yeah, but as Jeff is actually not a designated
right.
voting, so sorry,
Yeah,
Jeff.
fair enough.
So one of the delegates then, please.
I will. Dean Edwards, cameras.
Thanks, Dean. All right, any further discussion? All right, just we'll do a vocal vote here. If you want to just unmute yourself or if you want to raise your hand. Probably, I can't see everybody here, so if you can just do a vocal vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. All right, thank you very much, everybody. And go to the next slide here, which is our budget. Again, you'll look at the revenue. We're looking at approximately we're looking at a budget of 7,000 members. So 35,000 for that. Apparel, again, we're going to drastically take that down. I've been the one that's kind of looking for sponsors. Again, and I'm going to start stepping back quite a bit here from Pickleball Alberta. Doesn't mean I'm not fully engaged. One person said to me, Kirk, your phasing out is better than most people's 100%. But I just got some other things I want to deal with as well in different levels, but programs and clinics, again, that'd probably be for coaching and things like that. We'll look at doing and our different programs we have over to the right. Anybody have any questions on that? One thing about the PCNS I will mention is I believe it's I was the one that made this motion when I was at Pickleball Canada, that any organization that's over, I believe it's 5,000 members, pays $3,000 a year for PCNS. So that's half of it. The other half is helping us with the development of web pages. We're looking at doing a coaching page, an officiating page, and just general maintenance of our website. So where that is.
Kirk, it's Doug.
Yes, Doug.
I take a look at your officiating program and your coaching program, and I haven't been involved in this, but I think you were up around $5,000 for your officiating program. And if you want to get officials out to officiate tournaments in Medicine Hat and Red Deer, etc., I think that number is drastically understated from what it really needs to be. And I think there needs to be a thought process that goes in to having officials go to these places. It's not like you're living in Toronto and it's next door. You can go, you got to travel halfway across the world in Alberta to go. And I think the officiating program should have additional funds in there to be able to do that, to make sure that you can have the type of numbers you had in Medicine Hat and Red Deer, where you're basically 100% officials at all the games. So my gut tells me the officiating program number is substantially under what it really needs to be to run all the programs you want. Number 2 is on the coaching program. It's similar to what you have. If the growth is going to continue like I think it's going to continue, and just some numbers from Pickleball Canada, the goal in 2017 was to get to 5,000 members, to be starting the list of being a certified sports organization in Canada. 5 years later, an 800% growth, it's nearly 40,000. If you start getting numbers ticking up on from the 7,500 members that you have today in Pickleball Alberta, and as new courts come on stream throughout the various cities, that number could take off. I can see your coaching number being half of what it needs to be. And because the newbies that are coming in are people that, generally speaking, haven't played before. I think a lot of the people that are playing now are people that have either California, Arizona, and or Florida connections. I think those numbers are well understated. I think you need more money in the kitty.
Yeah, you wouldn't get an argument from me there on that, Doug. The other thing is too, is that what I'd like to see is for Pickleball Alberta Board of Directors, is where we can at least meet once a year, and maybe down at provincials or somewhere else where we would have something, the same thing for mileage.
And again, 100%, this is bootstrap stuff that we started when Bev and I were originally involved in this, and it is bootstrap. We were going to, what was the name of that place, Bev, in Red Deer, with a little community hall? Links or something like that.
Actually, Brenda and the Red Deer Club were organizing that one. It was like a little community hall. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yep,
but-
Pines.
Yeah,
Pines. There we go.
Pines, correct, yeah. I just, and this is just me, an outsider looking in on this right now, and I just see where the growth is going in this thing, and I think I would rather be on the, and again, when we first started Pickleball Alberta, we put 50% of our money, and we had none, into basically starting up a coaching program. Because we knew the wave was coming. I think it's coming again. And I would hate to have not enough coaches out there. I'd hate to not have the right officiating program. If you're going to run 13, 14, 15 tournaments across Alberta in the upcoming year that are sanctioned, be great to set the bar high and have them totally all the matches done. Anyways, I know this is for what the budget is. I just think those particular areas are areas that look to me like they're underfunded, and that's just my thought process on this.
I have a question too, and I guess it goes to the same thing where I think, the amount of time I'm sure that you're all putting in, and, the costs and the growth. And so I just caught the beginning, can you talk at all at why the membership increase in fee was rejected?
There was some concern by some board members. Honestly, that's a difficult question for me, Sherry. Bev, do you want to answer it, or somebody else? I just know we have to come out of there with one voice, Sherry. There was, again, 3 presidents expressed concerns, some very strongly, that they're actually phoning board as directors, and stated their case there that maybe it wasn't enough time for them to look at putting it into their fee structure for their members and give them notice. But yeah, there was different concerns from different people that they were strong enough that they were voted against it, and it was the majority of the board. So
is that something we can put in for next year with a bit more education and time? And because I saw the comparison, between the other sports, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, no, sure. It's something that we can readdress for 2024. Yeah. So thanks for that comment there, Sherry. Doug?
Kirk, I have one comment.
Yeah.
Been involved in a fair amount of, or not, or volunteer, not-for-profits, etc. I hate to say it, but 41,000 income, 40,000 expenses, at the end of the year, you're probably going to run a deficit unless we phenomenally get a bunch more members. I would suggest that if do the budget the way you think you have to, and there is absolutely no reason why, if the budget dictates it, Pickleball Alberta could not, given sufficient notice, ask for a special meeting of the members. As far as I know, there's no reason they couldn't ask for a special meeting of the members to increase the membership fee ahead of time if they have proper notice and reasons.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I've talked with Peter a number of times about Pickleball Canada, and he's very aware of special meetings. You know, that's something that could be brought up, Peter, as you know, that's within the bylaws and things like that. I do know, you know, listening to Doug there, I'd have to ask, and to Peter, share a little bit, like, is there an appetite for the voting delegates for Pickleball Alberta to run a deficit this year? Would anybody be, again, this is a budget that does not need approval here at this meeting. This is a budget that's will be finalized at our board. But is there an appetite from the voting delegates or from the membership even for Pickleball Alberta this year to run a deficit? Does anybody oppose?
Kirk, could I make a comment? Like this is in year, right? So I think the goal was trying to balance expenses versus our projected revenues. But Pickleball Alberta every year has had a surplus, and I believe it was 2020 when, you know, first year of pandemic, we had a little bigger surplus than normal. And so in fact, we have a surplus of about just over $50,000 with, I believe, virtually no accounts payable. So it's there is, you know, there is the possibility of Pickleball Alberta looking at spending more than, you know, dipping into that, you know, carry forward surplus from prior years.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that nobody says, how come you guys ran at such a deficit there last year? Again, if we kind of have the support of the group here of the AGM to say, hey, if you guys have to run in a deficit, we understand with the programs that you're running and the things that you're doing. Is anybody strongly opposed to it?
Kirk, I'll make a comment. It's Ken McPhail from Medicine Hat. You know, I was one of the opposing presidents that wrote a letter, and I want to be able to explain that. Is that, you know, having 2 weeks to triple the budget when you're running a club. I have a 10-year sort of budget that I have to pay the city for facilities, operate and look forward. And so to get something for in a 2 week or 3 week period to sort of change the budget, the clubs sell, I believe it's like 95 or 97% of all the memberships. And so when we look at selling memberships at our city, not one of them asks, oh, what's Pickleball Alberta? You know, yes, it's important for officiating programs. Yes, it's important for coaching programs. We've been running those. We've got one of the strongest junior, matter of fact, we have the strongest junior program in the province, 25 juniors. We do it with volunteers. We do all of our coaching with volunteers. We've got 2 NCCPs. We've got 6 or 7 or 8 IPTPA. And some of that has been funded by Pickleball Alberta to have those groups come down. So I think that's all in the budget. And that's the way it's been presented in the past. Doug, I might want to comment that the way you were saying it, it sounded like you were talking that the referees need to be paid out of this budget, and those are paid out of tournament fees. So we paid all of our referees that came down to Medicine Hat based on the proposed funding model that was put forward by Garen Jones and or probably Pickleball Canada. So you know, it's very difficult to try to, on a 2 or 3 week period, explain to everybody how all the budgets work at all levels. We sell those memberships, and we had a concern to have a conversation. And I don't think, in my opinion, that I know of, that there's been any call to the presidents of the clubs to have that conversation. And that would have been helpful. And maybe that would have swayed that vote. And that was the clear message that I sent in a letter to the board, saying that we need that sort of role because it's the clubs really that create the memberships. And I don't want to, maybe anybody who's been on there the whole time, I've not heard one word about how the clubs have moved forward the memberships or any of the programming. A lot of this stuff, it's really the clubs that initiate the demand for this. And so it doesn't seem like this is a grassroots up organization. It's more of a top down sort of discussion. And I just want to make sure that that's a clear message that I'd like to send is that we need to communicate together. We're on one team. And so when Pickleball Alberta doesn't have that conversation, it's very difficult to sort of be in favor of that. That's what I had to say.
Good. So I guess when anybody asks the question about the board vote, that Ken basically covers it there. Most of the concerns that I didn't have to say now. Any other comments?
It's James here. I'll comment from a St. Albert perspective. I think I'm not sure that we as a club and I think the province in general would be concerned about the idea of the potential for a fee increase going forward. But I think it's something where it needs to be done in a coordinated fashion because, and you mentioned yourself, Kirk, you know, you didn't see any feedback. The newsletter went out, we'll call it the trial balloon that might've got floated in the newsletter. You didn't see any feedback there, but I think some of that feedback probably happens at a more local layer where the conversations happen within the confines of the pickleball courts that exist across the province and people talk about there, and it doesn't necessarily bubble up to pickleball Alberta. So I think the potential is there for a fee increase, and I think you'd see support on it. But I think collectively we need to do a better sales job in terms of explaining why it needs to be done. And in some cases, helping people to understand exactly what Pickleball Alberta does. Because I think if you did a poll and talked about what Pickleball Alberta does, many people would say, it's your newsletter, and that's fine. That's better than nothing in the sense that they understand that at least that is done. But there's going to be a segment of the province where people don't know what the association does, and so a better sales job around that probably leads to a better understanding of why the fee increase needs to happen, and then it trails out from there. And so that's how we look at it from our lens here, and we're not opposed to it. We just think we need to do a better job at it with a little bit more advance notice.
Kirk, it's Doug again. Again, going back to the officiating program and the coaching program, Ken, no, I think that there's a separate discussion there on paying of referees. It comes out of monies that are generated through tournaments. That's a separate discussion. My personal opinion is our referees aren't paid a whole bunch and they work their tails off. But I think, again, as you're going to have some growth, I think your officiating program number, and I'm not going to get into the details, but it's $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 light. I think your coaching program is $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 light. I think if you show that your deficit's going to be larger, and I think Bev brought up a good point that you've got some money in the till. And then if you get into this other discussion in terms of increases over the next year and the numbers go up, and then you can do all the other things, I think you're well on your way for a 2023 year, knowing that you're going to run a deficit, knowing you're going to drag some funds out of funds that are available for you to use in cases like this. That's my comments.
And I just have to say, James, to your point there, I just don't go on the newsletter. I phoned probably about 25 people that I have know and just asked them, and some were from your club. When you talk about it's more into the club, maybe they give feedback. Everybody that I talked to was in favor of, like, in fact, they were saying, I didn't even know it was that cheap. So it wasn't just the newsletter. I did go to the members, and again, it was for discussion, and it was in the newsletter. I think it was 3 or 4 paragraphs there on the reasoning why. It takes a lot of courage. I know when I was at Pickleball Canada, I was the one that asked for the fee increase there so we could get staff. If we were going to grow and be as successful in sport, we just have to go to another level. And again, there was a lot. I tell you, we had more pushback from Pickleball Canada than we ever did. To get 0 members complaining, I probably get 20 emails after my newsletter gets out about different things that I put in it, and some don't agree with some different things. I was shocked, honestly shocked, that I got 0. That again, I'm not saying that there was 0 people that were against it, but for me to get, with especially the demographic that we have within Pickleball Alberta, to get 0 complaints, and you can call it triple or you can call it just over $1 a month for the membership fee, was shocking to me. So again, it was, when you say so much notice, again, our year end is December 31st. I know you guys are starting to send out notices now, but that newsletter went out in end of August. So again, it was just something that to me, that moving forward, I know, Peter, you can talk about a special meeting and things like that, but if we really want to do this, we do really have to look at getting staff, and that becomes a major one. Quebec's done it already. I like to think Pickleball Alberta, we lead the way in every way, but we haven't in this one. We're actually being the follower at $5. And so I just want to make that point. It wasn't just newsletter. I did reach out to other members. I was hoping the other board members would reach out to members as well, and maybe they did. But again, I was getting no pushback at all. In fact, everybody that I talked to, I got 30 texts and emails in favor of it. So to that point,
Kirk, just one thing. So, and maybe we do need staff. The cost of even a half-time staff for Pickleball Alberta would probably be in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000 a year when you factor in all the government subsidy, not subsidies, but the tax, the benefits and everything else. So that's a fairly major increase to a $41,000 budget. And I'm not saying we don't need it. What I'm saying is I sort of agree with what the fellow from St. Albert and Medicine Hat said, is more consultation ahead of time would have maybe gone to a longer way to getting an increase this year in this year's budget. And that's why I said, if it's needed, we can have a special meeting. It's not hard to call one, and you probably will get support if it's described properly ahead of time.
Again, there was 3 presidents who were against it, Peter. I don't have the appetite to push it forward. Honestly, I presented it all. I talked to Pickleball Quebec. I got numbers from them. I presented to the board. I'm just ready to move forward, honestly. But thanks for your points. So I'm going to go to the next slide here. I'd like to, oh boy, we still got all this to do. Thank you to our board members for 2021, 2022. You can see them all there. People leaving the board, Bev Walker, thank you very much for all your leadership, Bev, for all the years. I gladly accept you stepping down. You've done so much, and especially this year with Pickleball Canada and Pickleball Alberta, both. Way more than you've probably bargained for as a past president. Ray Kerouac, membership, and our technology director, Sarah McNeil, our secretary, Brad Hershaway, director at large, and Danica Wu, who was our communications director. We had a board of elections, a committee, Elaine McLean, Dean Edwards, and Haddo and Beverly on the nominating committee. Partial slate of directors being nominated for election. Nominations will be held from the floor. Bios were sent out September 12th, 2022. Nominations were for membership, officiating, junior development, communications board secretary and technology, Brenda Fazer, Garen Jones, Dean Croach, Lauren Evans, and Murray Young. Directors continuing the second year of their term were Kirk Jensen, Haddo Thule, Dwight Chalifer, Wanda Lazar, and Elsa Wong. And Bev, at this point here, do we just take nominations from the floor? Would you suggest for the slate there that's before us?
Yeah, so these 5 folks are put forward for election. And we are still looking for a director of technology. So it's at this point that we would normally call for nominations from the floor. In our communication, we asked if anybody was interested in putting their name forward, that they send some information to me or to Hato. I have received none, but on the other hand, there could be somebody that wishes to have their name put forward for nomination to any of these positions: the membership, officiating, junior development, communications, board secretary, or technology. Are there any nominations from the floor? That's the second call. Third call.
No.
Then we would put forward this these Brenda Fazer membership, Garen Jones officiating for 2-year terms, Dean Croach junior development, Lauren Evans communication, and Marie Young as the board secretary. These members are voted in by acclamation, and that's, thank you very much for you willing to put your name forward to take on these roles for Pickleball Alberta. Any questions or conversations, or it might be interesting. I know that Brenda has spoken, Garen has spoke, but Dean is on the call, and maybe Dean, you could just wait, go just say hi, something quickly, and then also Murray Young is also on the call. Maybe you could just say a little bit about where you're from so people can put a face with your name. So Dean, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah, thank you. So really excited to be involved in this. Big shoes to fill after working with Brenda on what she's been doing this past year. I'm from Hannah, so we don't actually have a registered club here. So I'm registered with Red Deer, both Red Deer and Calgary pickleball clubs, and then through to Pickleball Alberta. Actually, interestingly enough, we have a place out in BC, so I'm also with BC Invermere Pickleball Club. So it's kind of nice to be able to network with different clubs and get information and ideas from different people. And I hope to be able to put that in together with some of the other things I've been working with. I'm also on Team Poach with Brett Forsyth, and pleased to be involved in that part of the junior program with the paddles that he's worked on, and hopefully be able to continue with that as well. Looking good. Exciting times coming ahead.
For sure. Thanks very much, Dean. And Marie Young, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Certainly. Delighted to think about the contribution that I might be able to make to the great group that's operating Pickleball Alberta, and certainly have benefited by all the programs and offerings here in Calgary and Cochrane, and have had an opportunity to have some contact through the coaching and the officiating programs, and just really excited as well what's all in store for us in 23.
Great. Thank you very much. So Kirk, I think that's it. Lauren is not available, but the bios will be published after this meeting as well.
Yep, very good. All right, good job there, Bev, to your team, bringing those people forward and working with Pickleball Alberta. Look forward to that. That's a good year. All right. Any other questions or comments? Open floor. All right, hearing none. I'd like to thank the board of directors and all the volunteers from the clubs, from the association at every level, for coaching, for juniors, for officiating. Like it's again, it's the volunteers that make this game grow. We really appreciate it. you are making a difference. Know that Pickleball Alberta is the standard that everybody looks to. We are proud of that. We'll hope to continue to do that and lead the way. Thank you for everybody that joined this. I know AGMs aren't really popular to be a part of. Thank you very much for taking out a beautiful Sunday afternoon and spending your time with us. Thank you from the directors of Pickleball Canada for joining us as well. Appreciate you coming and hearing our concerns. And again, thank you very much for all the board of directors of Pickleball Alberta. We're off, everybody. Have a great Sunday afternoon. And Oilers are playing this afternoon, so go Oilers.
Thanks for hosting, Kirk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep. Bye-bye.
bye.
See you, everybody.
Here.